What's up? What's going on, good people? Welcome. Oh my God. Do you see the excitement? Do you see the saliva dropping out of my mouth? Which, by the way, that used to be a great show of just like respect when somebody was just like so excited that everything was spitting out. But now in these COVID days, you cannot have that level of excitement in public because it's just not cool. It's just not cool. I will say this. It's fascinating to see how we are beginning to interact and not interact. And then I'm just going to stop right there. How's everybody doing? By the way, I love seeing LinkedIn. I love it. LinkedIn, we're here. Facebook, we are here. We are here, right? Deb, Deb is on YouTube. Deb is holding it down on YouTube today, which we like. And I see Periscope is here. So we are all here. We are all ready. It is lovely. I see everybody. What's going on? Right on time. Now, yes, I see that. I see a lot of you are talking about podcasts. You're talking about launching shows. Let's just come right out the gate. Let's not even mess around, right? I have two things that I want to start with, but I'm just curious. As you're coming in, as you're saying what's up to everybody, here's my question, right out the gate. Have you already launched a podcast or a live series, or are you considering launching a podcast or in a live series, right? So if you've already launched, they've already launched, right? I'm already there. Or if you're thinking about it, go ahead and enter that in that you're thinking about. I'm really curious to see how many folks are in that zone. Now, while folks are coming in, right? I have two things to say, all right? Two things to say that I am ridiculously excited about. The first is, did anybody see Versus this weekend with Beanie Man and Bounty Killer? Did anybody see Versus with Beanie Man and Bounty Killer? Because if you did, you just got a masterclass in what Versus should be and what I guarantee it will continue to be going forward. Of course, I'm going to be biased about this, but it was, in my opinion, the most incredible Versus yet. And I want to even talk a little bit about that when I jump into the content today. But here's where I want to go is when I finish watching it, right? I will, straight up, no exaggeration whatsoever. I felt so proud to be of Jamaican heritage, but I also felt so obligated to give back, to do something for Jamaica, right? So, this is immediately I was like, oh my God, I've got to do something. So let me tell you what I did. All right. Now this is going to connect to every single one of you. All right. Every single one of you. The moment that Versus was over, I sent a text message, or not text message. What am I saying? Nobody sends text messages anymore. I sent a DM on IG, right? So on IG, I sent a DM to a friend of mine and I said, my wife and I have been doing a retreat every year. We do a retreat in Barbados. I had put together a team for us to do the retreat this year in Jamaica, but because of COVID, we have to postpone it. I said, look, I want to come to Jamaica in 2021. And I already know my dates. I want to come in November, the weekend before Thanksgiving, right? That's the weekend that we always do our retreats in Barbados. I said, I want to come this weekend and I want to create what will feel like one of the most incredible Jamaican retreats possible. I'm talking about, it'll feel like a family reunion meets a homecoming, meets just a praise on all things Jamaica. I want to have the top entertain. I want Beanie Man to be there, right? I want Bounty Killer. I want to see that in person. I want to see some of the finest in the culinary arts in Jamaica. I want to do this. Can you help me make this happen? He sent back a message. He said, Paul, I was watching and I feel the same way. What do you need? And this is all I have to say right here, guys. This is all I have to say. This is my first little announcement right here. Before we even talk about sharing or anything, first little announcement right here. I just want you to go to that link whenever you get an opportunity. Go to that link. And if you are interested, drop your name and email on that link, because we are putting together something that the world has never seen before. We are going to Jamaica. We're going to Jamaica, and I want you to come to Jamaica with me. And I want you to experience all of Jamaica. I mean, we're going to do Stush in the Bush. I mean, we are going to all go to Dunn's River Falls together. We are going to work on schools together. We are going to build our businesses together. It's going to be, it'll change your life. It's going to change your life, right? And it's 2021. So there's no excuse why none of y'all can't come. So I want you to go ahead and check that out. If you're ready, Brandon looks like he's ready. Kira looks like she's ready. Boop, right here. Boosie looks like they're ready. Look, I think, look, that'll be a great trip. Look at this. Stush in the Bush. See, you know about Stush in the Bush. Look at this. Look at this. You don't want my sis right here. She will be speaking. She doesn't even know it yet, but she's going to be speaking right here. She like, you don't even know. You don't even know what's going to happen. That's how fast. Kim, I see you, Kim. Kim, are you ready? Are you ready? There you go. There you go. Look, y'all be ready. Y'all get ready. Look at this. Yeah, exactly. After we get the vaccines, after we all get, satisfied, we are going to Jamaica, y'all. So look at this. This is my man, Jay. Jay, are you ready? Jay and Carla are leading this thing. They are leading this thing. Jay is looking at me like, Paul, I didn't even know you were going to say this. That's how quick I move. I just move off of it. And now I'm going to talk to Jay afterwards, right? So Jay, get ready. Get ready, guys. Get ready. All right. So that's one thing. That's one thing. All right. Look at this. We are ready. Look at this. We are ready. That's right, sis. Okay. So now that's the first. That's the first little announcement I had to make. But I have another announcement. Now, it's very important that you're on this list, this newsletter list today. And the reason why it's important that you are on this list and you have signed up before the end of this session is because after 3 weeks, guess what just finished? My wife and I, what we just finished probably 30 minutes before me coming on here. 30 minutes before I came on. You know what it is? Anybody want to guess? Let me see. Anybody want to guess what we have here? All right, let me just show. Let me just go to this little thing right here. Let me pull this up right here. Let me come over here. Anybody ready? Okay. I see you ready. All right. This is what I got for you. This is what I got. Bam. Right there, guys. The book is here. The book is here. 200, well, technically 177 pages. 177 pages of precisely how to generate new forms, new sources of income. The book is here. The book is here. Level 4 content. If you remember when we were talking about level 4 content, the book is here. You have to be on the newsletter. You will get it for free. And all I have to say is I'm distributing this book. A lot of people, when we finish this book, literally, I looked at Jill looked at me, and I was like, oh my God, we could sell this book for $15, $20. Like this book is worth it, right? But what we are doing is we are approaching this like CDs. Right. All right, real quick. I'm just curious. Enter me. Go ahead, put me in the chat. If you have ever bought a mixtape or a CD, and I'm talking about a physical mixtape or a CD. Let's see what the audience, let's see who we really have in the audience right now. If you ever have physically bought a mixtape or a CD. Let me see real quick. Let me just see who we have. Okay. All right. We got some folks because, you know, to buy a mixtape or a CD, normally you had to go around the corner. You had to go to the alley, right? Or maybe you were going to the club. Okay. I see what the audience looks like. All right. I see what the audience looks like. All right. So you remember this. You remember this. Now, let me ask you, was it effective? Was it effective? I think it was incredibly effective. I'm going to tell you this. I remember getting my No Limit CDs every week because Master P was putting out a CD like every 2 or 3 days. You remember? Every 2 or 3 days, somebody off No Limit was putting out a CD, right? And it was effective. And the reason why I said it was why I think it was effective is because it was a way to quickly distribute art to the right people, right? To the right people. Because you would buy that CD, right? Somebody would jump in the barbershop or whatever, the beauty salon, you'd buy the CD, and then you would most likely give it, you tape it, you dub it, remember that? And you give it to 5 or 6 of your friends. And slowly but surely, it may take a year, but the content would get to the right people. That's exactly what I'm doing with this book. This book is free, and I am starting to distribute this book through you all, right? So you'll see when I send you this email, I'm going to say, send this to everybody that you believe would appreciate this content. And you all are going to be like, you know, my folks hustling out. It's basically, you're going to be like the people that had the trunks that would drive from New Orleans up to New York where I was and say, hey, I got these No Limit CDs, right? That's going to be y'all for me. But the beauty is that you don't have to charge. It's all free. It's just distributing for free. The book is here. The book is here. I'm excited, guys. I'm excited. So I'm sending that out this evening. So make sure you are on the email list. And you will see, look at everybody. See, look, y'all definitely remember buying these CDs out the trunk. Y'all definitely remember this. All right. So real quick, then I have to ask you this right before we get started. Then what was the best mixtape you've ever bought or CD you've ever bought? Who was it from? Who was the best? The best that you've ever bought. I will tell you I'm gonna go way back. I would say I remember. So, DJ SNS in New York, DJ Clue. Between DJ SNS and DJ Clue, every mixtape was fire. Every one. Those were my favorite. Anytime Clue was coming out with something, those were my favorite. What was your favorite? Let me see real quick. What was your favorite? Oh no, she can't remember. You can't remember. Oh no, they must not have been that great. No, let's see. Linda said I never bought a mixtape, but reggae mixtape. Okay, that qualifies. Wow. Oh wow, you were buying. My man Treshawn, you were buying Neo. I didn't even know Neo was on the mixtapes. Okay, Neo had a little bit. Okay, all right. Yep. I see it. Daryl Austin. Yep. DJ Clue. By the way, Daryl Austin Jr., CEO. I don't know how widely I could talk about the app, but right here, this is my man right here. This is a tech CEO titan right here in the building. So Daryl, thanks for tuning in. G Unit, okay, yeah, Brandon, G Unit. All right, I got it. Okay, all right. Let's get going, guys. Let's get going. What I want to talk about today is I want to talk about, oh, wow, look at this. I didn't even know Whitney Houston last CD. I didn't even know you could, people were selling Whitney Houston CDs out of trunks. I didn't know that. I just thought it was like a certain genre. I didn't know that Whitney Houston, people were slinging Whitney Houston out the trunks. I didn't realize that. Okay. Excuse me. Next thing somebody's going to say, yeah, I bought some Celine Dion in the barbershop. If you bought Celine Dion in the barbershop, oh my Lord. Okay. All right. So now, let's get going, guys. Let's get going. Serious. I'm gonna get serious. Okay. No, I'm not gonna get serious, but no, this is a serious topic. So we're talking about how you and I can become better, right, at being a host or a guest on shows, right? And let me just paint the picture real quick. I know that you all feel the same way. Well, actually, I don't even want to say that. If you feel the same way, say I agree. If you disagree with me, say you disagree, which is fair. But for me, every time I go onto Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook, okay? Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook, and I'm on for at least, say, 10 minutes on one of those platforms, I see at least one person advertising interview show. Like, I'm going to interview and so, or I'm going to be on the guest on so, right? Easily. So tell me if you agree that you feel like you are being inundated, that everybody is hosting their own show, whether it be a live like this, whether it be a live on IG, whether it be a video series that they do and they record and they post, or they're a guest on somebody's situation. Like, it feels like everyone is doing this, right? Everyone is doing this. Now, real quick, let me see. All right. I see a lot of agreeing. Okay. Crystal is saying she agrees. Okay. All right. Yeah. Look, Tony is like, yeah, he sees it all the time. Yeah, there's a lot. Now, my prediction is this is going to increase. So so what you see right now is just the tip of the iceberg. Why? Because there are literally millions of people who are watching what's happening, and they're about to say, okay, yeah, I should do that too. So you're going to see millions of people who haven't really thought it through in terms of hosting their own live show or podcast or whatever it may be. They're going to now just say, yes, I want to do that. Also, if you look at the platforms, I don't know if you saw this, or this might be breaking news for you, but this today, Amazon just announced, in terms of Audible, they just announced that they are now trying to move heavily into the podcasting space. So what does that mean? What that means is that you're going to see Audible start to recruit more talent, just like Spotify. If you saw that Spotify just did a deal, no one knows exactly how much. It could be $100 to $200 million deal to exclusively secure Joe Rogan's podcast. Why are they doing that? Because Spotify wants to be basically the Netflix of audio, right? That's what they want to be. And by bringing on top talent like that, they're going to be able to get lots of other people onto the platform. So you have Audible trying to compete. You have Spotify trying to compete. You have iTunes, of course, doing it with over 1 million podcasts. You have now an endless number of podcast platforms that are looking for more content. Then on top of that, you have all of the social platforms like Facebook and Instagram and Periscope and YouTube, etc., who want you to do more live. So they're rolling out features and they're trying to make it easier for you to create more shows. So now the question becomes, if we're all doing shows, right? How do you stand out? If everybody's doing a show, how do you stand out? And then on top of that, how do you not just stand out, but how do you stand out for your specific avatar so that you can create more engagement, you can convert more people into true fans, and you can increase your sales? That's been the through line on almost everything we've been talking about here, right? Over the last, I think this is our 26th episode. We're always talking about basically how can you boost up engagement, convert people into true fans, and how can you increase your sales? That's really what we're talking about here. So I'm going to get into my suggestions on how you do just that. And to aid me in doing that, you know what I'm bringing to you. I'm bringing none other than a little PowerPoint. Actually, you know what? You know what, Google? I'm sorry. I want to apologize right now to Google before we get going. I want to say, Google, I'm sorry, because I just disrespected Google. I just said I pulled up a little PowerPoint. This is not a PowerPoint. This is a Google slide, right? I disrespected Google. I'm sorry. This is not a PowerPoint. I really love Google. A matter of fact, Google Pages is what we pretty much wrote the entire book in. My wife and I, we were just going back and forth right on Google Pages. So so I'm sorry, Google. I'm sorry. This is Google Slides. Google Slides. All right. So this is what we're talking about. Let's go through here, and if you have questions, I'm going to try to stop throughout this whole thing and answer your questions. All right. So now let's get going. How to be great at video podcast as a host or a guest. We're talking about both of these. All right. I'm going to break these down. I'm going to do 10 tips first to be a great host, and then I'll do 10 tips to be a great guest. And let me just say this, and this isn't me trying to like gas you up on me, but I just want to set the record straight, you know, the credibility, in case somebody is watching this like, who is this guy to get up here and tell me how to be a good host or how to be a good guest? Who is he? I don't know who Paul Brunson is. Well, let me tell you real quick. All right, let me tell you real quick. 10 years in the business, started off co-hosting a television show with Oprah Winfrey. I've been on every top morning TV show in the United States, in the UK. So Good Morning America, Today Show, all of that, every evening show, right? Nightline, Dateline, right? All of that stuff, 2020, the same thing in the UK. I've come over here last 3 years, all the morning shows I've done. So from a television perspective, like I've been there, right? In terms of live, and that's both as a guest and as a host, right? The same thing with podcasts. Been on a lot of the big podcasts. Been interviewed by a lot of the big podcasters. I've also interviewed, right? So I've had my own digital series through my own situation, through USA Today. I hosted a show called Uncommon Drive, interviewed like, massive names, Swizz Beatz, etc. So I've been on both sides, right? Been on both sides. The same thing with live. Like even right now, I still do lives with USA Today. Every week they host this live show, and they'll get like, hundreds of thousands of people coming on to this thing. So I've seen it all. I've seen it live. I've seen it taped. I've seen it recorded. I've seen it from a guest. I've seen it from host. I've seen it all for 10 years, and I've stayed in the industry for 10 years, right? So what I'm telling you is from real experience over a decade of watching people kind of sling content, right? These are my top 10 tips from the host side and also from the guest side. All right, let's get going. So number one on the host side is this, okay? This is, I always like to begin right here. This is very important, right? Should you even be hosting a show, right? Should you be actually hosting a show? And I'm going to get into how do you determine if you should host a show. But let me just say this. Hosting is not built for everybody. Just because you could pick up the phone, turn it on, and pose questions doesn't mean that you are built to be a host. It just doesn't. And you've probably seen it from watching a lot of content that is just not the case. And if you're not built for being a host and you don't take it seriously, what's going to happen is it's going to poorly reflect on your brand. And I have seen so many extraordinary entrepreneurs, right, now jump into the host space, and they're lackluster on the host space. And therefore, I feel like now it diminishes their product a little bit. Not everyone is built for this, okay? Not everyone is built for this. A matter of fact, my sis Tamara is watching this. My sis Tamara from Jamaica, she just interviewed me this past weekend. My sis, she has probably 10 years experience as a television, like as a journalist, like as a host, multiple shows, right? This is real. This is a talent. This isn't just turning on a freaking camera. Now I feel prideful, right? This is just turning on a camera. Nobody can just do this. This is only for, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. All right. Now, how do you know if you're built for this? How do you know if you should be doing this? Right here. These are the questions that I think you should ask yourself. All right. You should ask yourself these questions before you start hosting. One, if you were to launch a live series or a podcast, right? Will it address your avatar's pain point? Because keep in mind, there are already probably 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000 other podcasts going on. When I launched Better with Paul, by the way, Better with Paul was actually a podcast idea that I had over a year ago. And you know why I never hit the trigger to launch it over a year ago? Because I said, you know what? There are other podcasts out here that are serving the avatar's pain point better than I could serve it. So therefore, I'm going to sit on the sideline right now, right? So you have to ask yourself that question. Second is it novel? Is what you're doing novel, right? Like, Lil Wayne just started interviewing people, right? And first I was thinking, man, why is Lil Wayne? Everybody's interviewing somebody. Lil Wayne is out here interviewing. But I will say that his setup is novel. Like his setup is unique. You have to bring something new, something fresh to the table. Third is, can you connect your experiences and make it brandable? By the way, pop quiz for everybody. If you can answer yes to those first three questions, what type of content does that make you? What type of content is that? Real quick quiz. Let's see. Whoever can answer this gets the first patty at the retreat next year. I guarantee you, I'm gonna hold off everybody from the patty table, and you will get the first patty if you can answer that. What type of content is that? What type of content is that? By the way, I see Cher Jones in the building. I got to shout out Cher. One of the best live hosts, period. Check out her show on, I think it's Wednesdays. Let everybody know, Cher, on Wednesdays. One of the best live hosts on the planet is Cher Jones. All right, Jennifer Dixon. Everybody give it up for Jennifer. Jennifer, I got you. You got the first patty. I'm holding everybody off, whatever you want. Ackee Sawfish, whatever patty you want. You got the first one. Exactly. That's TUC content, right? TUC content. Targeted, unmissable. Here we go. Targeted, unmissable content. That's right. Give me a patty. I'm sorry. Jennifer Dixon beat you. She beat you to it. All right. So you answer yes to that. That means you have targeted, unmissable content. That means, yes, you should be thinking about hosting a show, but should you do it or should you try to hire Cher to do it? Right? Here's how you figure that out. If you answer yes to 1 to 3, you should ask yourself, should you be the host? So the question is this. The question is, if you answer yes to those 3, then you have to intellectually ask yourself this question. This is why emotional intelligence is so important, right? In business, emotional intelligence and awareness is you have to say, am I the best person to be doing this? Or can I become the best person doing this, right? That's the question. Am I the best person to be doing this, to be hosting this show, to be hosting this podcast for my brand, for my company? Or maybe if I'm not the best person, can I become the best person? Because if the answer is no, if you don't think you're the best person and you don't think you can become the best person, then you are doing your avatar a disservice. You're doing your brand a disservice. You're doing yourself a disservice, right? Go do something else. There's lots of other things you could do. So this is the question. This is the question that you have to ask yourself. Now, let's keep going. Number two is this. Equipment is nice, but not critical. I think too many of us get hung up on the type of equipment we have. Please, if you agree with me, say amen on this, because I feel like the top questions I get when people are like, Paul, the top question I get is, Paul, what do you use to stream? And I use StreamYard, right? I use StreamYard to stream, which, by the way, Cher recommended StreamYard to me. Cher Jones recommended StreamYard to me. So the first question is that, but then the second question is, Paul, what kind of lighting kit, what kind of sound kit, all of that. Let me tell you something. Remember Dr. Terry Carell from Jamaica, who was on the earlier one, remember, with the orange background, right? I think that she is the prime example of why you don't need lots of equipment to exceed out here. You just don't, right? The key, there's other keys, and we're going to talk about the other keys, but don't focus on the equipment right away. Don't say, I can't start my podcast until my green screen comes in, right? Or I can't start my show until I get the right mic. No, forget that. Go look at the first Better with Paul that we did live. I didn't have a mic. I didn't have a light. I had a busted background, although this background isn't much better, right? Let's see, look at this. This background sucks. But I didn't have like a high-speed connection. I just got on. That's what you need to do. Just put yourself on if you've decided you're the best person to do it. So equipment's not critical. That being said, if there is one thing that is the most important equipment, and we've actually talked about this on a Better with Paul, right? This is my opinion on what's the most important, and that is your mic. Now I added a light in here because lighting is important. My lighting now I can see is messed up because of the sun here. But let me tell you, I think the mic is the most important thing. This is my mic. This is the mic that I use. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is DJ 24 Karat coming to you live at midnight, every midnight at Saturday. By the way, I did that in college. Do you know that? That's you think I just came up with that on the spot? No, that's real. That was my DJ name, DJ 24 Karat. Now I came up with DJ 24 Karat because I was like, I don't want to just be 14 karat gold. I want to be more than that. I didn't even know what 24 karat was. I was just like, yeah, DJ 24 karat. And we would spin. Me and my man would spin. Shout out to Archie. My man Archie passed away, but he was phenomenal, right? From Brooklyn. The two of us would DJ, and we would get requests. And the only people really requesting records were like my wife, then my girlfriend. That was it. It was like 3 people listening to us. But anyway, this is my mic, an NT USB, right? This, by the way, this mic is so exceptional that I could sit it here on the side and you could still see the quality is, the quality is really good. It captures quality. I've used a Blue Yeti. I mean, I've used lots of mics over 10 years. This is hands down my favorite mic. I think it costs about $150, $160. If you're looking for an exceptional mic, this right here will do it. And then I normally have a ring light going on as well. Right. But so this is my situation, but the sound, the sound is the most important. All right. Number 3, production quality is nice, but it's not critical. Right. This is once again, you notice that I'm trying to give you tips based on what I see a lot of people comment and ask me about. Right. So another question is okay, like, Paul, tell me about, like, how do you do your lower thirds and how do you get the background on your StreamYard? How do you do all of that, right? Let me tell you something. It's nice to have all of these things, but go back to the first 2 or 3 weeks of Better with Paul. I didn't have any of this stuff. I didn't have any of these this little magic. Why? Because your podcast or your show is just like your product. You put your product out into the world raw, right? You put it out raw, and then you listen. And then based on the feedback, you iterate, right? Your podcast, your show should be the same exact way. You put it out in the most raw form possible, you listen, and then you iterate. Now, one thing I will say about production quality and workflow, and by the way, workflow, a lot of people say workflow and they're like, okay, what is workflow? Workflow is essentially just the sequence you use to execute your work, right? So for example, to do Better with Paul, there's a lot of moving pieces. Honestly, I was telling Jill, I was like, man, it takes like 2+ hours just to do the basics for this. Like, so for example, I have all the graphics, right? But outside of securing the guests and all that, which we'll talk about, then you have a social card that comes up. You see the countdown, you see the promotion cards that I use, everything gets customized, right? And then when I'm on screen, you see me moving different things on and off the screen, right? You see this coming in and coming out. When I have guests, I mix up the screen. All of this, I'm throwing little things, back on the screen, which, by the way, don't forget to share your video. Sharing is love. All right. But you see me pulling things on and off the screen, right? All of this is in the workflow. This is all the production quality. Now, the best thing that I believe you can do, and I've noticed that a couple mentees have hit me on this, is they would say, Paul, who does your production, right? I just want to hire that person to do your production. Well, first, I do all of this, but the reason why I do it is that way I can understand and appreciate the production itself. And therefore, when I'm hosting, I can actually add more value. For example, I don't have another person on screen with me right now, but in StreamYard, they allow you to actually have a wide out shot. So you could have two people that are separated, and then you could have two people that are zoomed in, right? Now, if I didn't know anything about production, then I wouldn't even know how to use that. How do you know whether you should pan out or pan in? How do you know when you should do that? Why you should do that? You would have no idea unless you have the experience doing it. But now that I play around with production and because I'm familiar with television, anytime someone is telling you something personal, it's dramatic, right? They're pausing a lot. They're getting emotional. You want to zoom in. Now, let me tell you some of the behind the scenes production. Enter me if you saw when Sham came on 2 weeks ago for Mentor Monday. If you saw when Sham came on for Mentor Monday 2 weeks ago, if you remember, I don't even know if you remember this, right? Tell me, be honest with me if you remember this, right? The moment that I saw Sham beginning to get emotional, the producer side of me said, pan in. And you know what I did? I panned in. I came in, zoom in, frame, right on, right? All of this, right, is part of elevating the production value of what you do. Now, we can have a whole episode. By the way, if you want to have a whole session on production value, I would love to have a whole session on this. So let me know in the comments. But my overall point right now, number 3, is that you don't need this out the gate. But it's most important if you're thinking about production quality to learn every aspect. You should be doing your own social cards. You should practice. I do the social cards. When you see the countdown, 30, 29, 20, all that, I did the countdown, right? All of these elements, I did all this. The reason why I did all of this is so that way I can understand. And then as the show grows, I could better manage the individual experts on that. All right. So that is my thought there. All right, let's keep going. I'm going to stop for questions at once I get to 10. All right. So this is the next thing. When you are curating your show, the curation is critical. I've noticed a lot of folks miss on curation of show topics. And let me just tell you that when you are coming up with a topic for your podcast, for your video, for your interview, I strongly encourage you to not pick the subject first. So don't pick the person that you want to interview first and then build the show around them. That is actually not, I think, giving your avatar what they deserve. That's not what I do for you all, right? What I do instead is I pick the topic that I believe is most going to address your pain point, and then I curate the audience based on that topic. Now, how do I pick the topic? Let me show you this. Let me show you this, right? This is an example of how I pick the topic. Let me ask everybody a question real quick, all right? These are 3 different types of These are 3 different types of content. Which one of these is the time-sensitive topic? Because there's primarily 3 types of content. You either can create time-sensitive content, or you can create evergreen content, or there's a third, okay? So I want you to tell me, which one do you believe is the time-sensitive topic? These are 3 shows that we did, 3 Better with Paul shows, right? We did the Teddy Riley joint. We did the how to find purpose and passion, vision in life. We did 50 ways to create new sources of income. By the way, all of these shows collectively have had more than 40,000 views in less than 4 weeks. So these are all what I would consider to be very successful live streams. By the way, these live streams were between an hour and a half to 2 hours. So to have 40,000 plus views on an hour and a half to 2 hours is really good, right? So these are all, I consider these all to be successful, but let's break it down real quick. Which one is time sensitive? All right. Which one is time sensitive? All right. So yes, I see Colleen, right, saying this. Uh-oh. Tamara is saying it's income. Uh-oh. Kimberly is saying it's income. But my man OC is saying it's uh-oh. So you guys are disagreeing a little bit. You guys are disagreeing. Let's see what Cher says. Cher says it's uh-oh. Wait, hold on. That's not Cher. This is Mariana. But Mariana says exactly what Cher says, right? All right. So now let me tell you, this is interesting. You guys are disagreeing, but you're proving the point a little bit. Let me see here. Let me see. Kevon, all right. This is, by the way, Kevon right here. When I go back and read the comments, right here, you need to be a copywriter because your comments are so freaking funny and on point and succinct. You need to write copy for somebody. Like, I hope that's part of your sources of income because you are exceptional at writing. So he says 50 ways because the need is relevant for COVID. All right. Now, I like this debate. Let me tell you, there's only one here that's time sensitive. The one piece of content here that's time sensitive is 10 lessons for entrepreneurs from Teddy Riley versus Babyface, right? This is the time sensitive one from a traditional standpoint. All right. So this is a little bit of a trick question. You know, I like to throw a trick in here. You know, I like to throw a trick question. So the Teddy Riley one is time sensitive. Time sensitive content, basically, and this is how you should think of it. This is how we thought of it in media when I was hosting the Uncommon Drive is anything that happens that you could speak about that's happened within 24 hours. Now, here's what you want to remember. Time-sensitive content, if you can create time-sensitive content consistently, then you will win, period. Even if your content is subpar, right? Even if your content is subpar, I guarantee you, for example, I guarantee you that if you are one of the first people to commentate about Versus, right? So Versus ends, and within 1 hour, you're out with a YouTube video talking about what you thought about Versus. Even if everything you say is nonsense, you are going to get a lot of engagement. You're going to convert a lot of true fans. And if you're selling a product, you're going to create a lot of sales, okay? When you create time-sensitive content consistently, you get a quick bump. You get a quick bump, right? The other thing is if you create time-sensitive content and you can include a guest that participated in that, you could have the weakest content in the world and you will do extraordinarily well. For example, think if you're hosting a show, think if I was hosting a show and every night, as soon as Versus was over, I had one of the people who battled in Versus and I did a 20-minute interview with them. If I just did that and every question was like, what did you have to eat this morning? How many times have you watched Tiger King? What did you think about Last Dance? Like, if you're asking the most ridiculous questions in the world, but you have that person on consistently, you are going to skyrocket. So think about that as a content strategy plan, right? But here's the problem with time-sensitive content. The problem with time-sensitive content is that it gives you a quick boost, but after the next Versus comes out, there's a precipitous drop in the engagement on your content to the point where nobody really wants to engage in your content a week or 2 weeks out. It becomes nostalgic at best, right? So therefore, the best thing that you can do in your your content mix of shows and podcasts is you want to have evergreen, and also you want to have time sensitive. Now, what's evergreen? Evergreen is how to find purpose, passion in life. All right. This is evergreen. How to find purpose, passion, and vision in life. We could talk about that today, or we could talk about that 5 years ago. We could talk about that in 10 years. We could talk about that whenever. It doesn't really matter when we talk about it. That's going to be a topic that people are always going to have an interest in. For search engine optimization purposes, for building your brand, you always want to have some of this content. Some content strategists call this pillar content, right? You always want to have some of this. You always want to have a good mix. Now, here's my insider tip for you. Here's what I do. Because I like to be different. I got to be different. So here's how I like to be different. I like to pick topics that are evergreen, but they feel like they're time sensitive. You know what I mean? It's like they're really evergreen. It's like a trick almost. It's like a sheep in wolf's clothing, right? It's like it's really evergreen, but it's rolled out at a time where you think it's time sensitive. And that's the reason why 50 ways to create new sources of income also hit hard, because that is something that we could talk about forever. Remember, I got up here and showed you guys, I created that video, the first video I did in 2018. I did that 2 years ago. All I did was just take that video and I just plopped it right in today, right? The key here is if you can identify topics that are obvious pain points to your avatar, that's an evergreen topic, but it feels like it's current, that is going to give you the win. That is going to give you the win. And therefore, that goes to show you that hosting these shows isn't just arbitrarily picking a topic. You have to really be methodical in how you are putting together your topics, right? So this is exactly how you do it. You identify that avatar pain point. You identify an evergreen topic that just feels like it's time sensitive, but it's really not. That's how you win. All right. That's how you win. Okay. Next up is you've got to curate the right guests for the topic and time. Now let me give me an honest opinion. Give me an honest opinion. And I'm a big boy. I can handle this. Okay. Honestly, on a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being great, right? And 1 being not so great, right? How do you rate the curation of the guests of Better with Paul? How do you rate the curation of the guests for Better with Paul overall, right? On a scale from 1 to 10. Now, let me tell you something. I looked at, because I just saw, I was like, oh my God, we've been doing this. This is our 26th episode. I appreciate it. Look at this. I see some 10s. But see, this is what I like though. I really like to see this. I really like to see a 9. I like to see it. Let's see what else. Let's see if somebody's gonna hit us with the but I really like this. I see this. By the way, Naomi, when I was thinking about Jamaica, I was thinking 1000%. I'm contacting you about Jamaica. All right, just know I'm coming to you for the Jamaica event. 100. All right. I appreciate this. Oh, see, look at this. Look at this. See now, look. And please, no one say boo. I'm not trying to. By the way, I'm not trying to pull you out to say, oh, look at you. I like this. All right, now I like this because this makes me begin to think. Okay, now why? Now I'm going to get into, because it's interesting, right? Here's one person saying 7, whereas other people have said 50 or 100 out of 10, right? I'm going to get into the why in a second, but let me tell you that it's that curation I think is the most important element. And this is what I take the most pride in. So right now, I will say I take the most pride in the curation, right? I take the most pride in the curation. So now let me tell you how I do it, right? How I do it and who it's for, all right? This is my thought, right? The first is when you're curating, you want to think of yourself as a choir director, right? This is really what it's about. It's about different voices coming together to harmonize. You never want to have all of the same POVs, perspectives on a panel. The second is that these should actually be experts in their domain. Okay. It's very important that they're experts in their domain. And how you know that is you could pose them a question and they can answer the question without having to prep for it. But this is very important. This is very, very important. The credibility of your guests will reflect you and your credibility. So I have a lot of mentees who say, Paul, I'm trying to start my podcast. I'm trying to start my show. I'm just going to grab a bunch of folks on, right? Just so I can start interviewing. But every time you bring someone onto your platform, you're in essence saying, I endorse this person. That's really what you're saying, right? You're really saying, I stand by what this person is saying for the most part, right? For the most part. So it's very important that you are picking people that you consider to be credible. It is much better to not host a show or to say, okay, this week I've got to skip a week, than to bring on someone who's not that great. Now, number 3, if I were to go back to Diane, I don't know where she was, who rated the guest a set, who gave someone said your face at that 7. Oh man. Right. You're right. That yeah. So here's the thing. Oh yeah, this is actually good. These are good questions. Someone said guest speaking time should be balanced. No, it shouldn't. I'm gonna tell you why in a second. It's not about that. Or I disagree. I don't think it should be balanced. But here's the key. Your audience, I think, needs to see themselves in they need to see themselves in the guests, right? Now, they don't have to necessarily say, okay, this is I'm a black woman, that's a black woman, I see myself because we're black women. No. I'm saying that they have to see themselves in terms of, okay, we've gone through the same challenges. We have the same passion, right? We have we both have the same desires. We turned out we worked at the same company, whatever it may be. There needs to be connection. Now, I'm willing to bet for anyone who gave me under my curation, gave me under a 10, I'm willing to bet that a large part of that was because you may not have seen yourself reflected enough in the panel. Now, this is something that I'm going to be 1000% on, right? And this is a hard topic to broach, but I'm just going to put it out there, is that I know a lot of Black hosts of podcasts and video shows, etc., who say, Paul, you know what? I want to serve everybody, right? And because I want to serve everybody, I want to have everybody on my show. I want to have white people, and I want to have all kinds, I want to have people for I want to have everybody. I want to have everybody on my show. I want to have this great mix, right, of people on my show. Here's my opinion. And this is my opinion that I would give to anyone. The more you are clear on who you serve will help you to simply not be a master to those you don't serve, right? And what I mean by that is everyone should start with one avatar, and it's okay to move to a second, and to a third, and to a fourth, etc. But you have to know exactly who your avatar is, and you have to ride for your avatar. Your avatar must know that you are there for them over and beyond anyone else, right? when I look at the feedback, right, that I get, is I kind of have 3 core types of avatars, right? And what I've noticed is that I almost guarantee you that everyone that gave, a 9 or a 10 in the curation, that's probably my core avatar. Anyone who was kind of outside of the 9, right, is someone who I still want you to be my community, right? I still want to figure out how to serve you. However, you might not be the core avatar. And what so many people do, and I used to do this, is I used to say, oh, but I want everybody to like me. So therefore, I'm going to try to make sure that I am just making everybody happy. But when you try to make everybody happy, I guarantee you, your core avatar will not be happy. And so it's very important that you know who that avatar is and you're delivering to them. All right. Now, next up, the magic 4. The magic 4. All right. When you're curating, look for this. Look for people who could be instructional, who could say, all right, guys, here are the steps to be able to do A, B, and C. Or look for people who are aspirational. They've already achieved it. So they could say, all right, guys, here's how you could build a business because I built a business, right? Right. So instructional would be, all right, guys, I'm a business professor. I've helped lots of people build. So here's how they build businesses, right? The second person is aspirational, right? All right, guys, I've built lots of businesses. Come, let me, let me share what I've learned, right? I'm aspirational. You want to be like that person. Third is you look for someone who's inspirational. Like, I'm trying to build my business right now. Come on, let's do this together. Let me share my experiences. And then there's the motivational, the person that's just like, you know what? I just know you could do it. Why? Because you're Jamaican and Jamaicans can do anything, right? Whatever it may be. The key is that you always want to have a guest that can hit on at least one of those 4. But here is the tip, the insider tip. If you could find a guest that hits all of those, you will win. If you're doing a panel, if you can find a guest that does all of those, you're going to win. Okay, you're going to win big. All right. So now let's keep going a little bit faster here. Next this is real simple. You have to prepare. All right. You have to prepare. And on top of you preparing is, and here's the reason is that when you bring a guest on, you're going to see when we talk about guests is that the guest should be memorable. They should be memorable. The best way to evoke something that's going to create, is going to create a response that's memorable is for you to be able to ask them either A, questions that they have not been asked before, which requires you to be prepared, or B, you already know the questions that amp them up, right? You already know the questions that get to them. Remember when Dawn Dixon was just on? Honestly, I probably watched 6-7 hours of her content. That's how much I kind of knew her story. I already knew this. I already knew the exact stories that would light her up, that she would want to talk about. So therefore, I could just drill right into those. So preparation, twice the amount of preparation is always important. Next is, I've swayed on this, but now I've come back, right? So I used to be the person who would say, never send your guests questions. Never send them questions, because if you send them questions, they're going to be too prepared and too off the cuff. And then I sat down with a friend of mine who is, I think, one of the best interviewers who's ever walked the face of the earth, Angie Martinez, right? Angie Martinez, I believe, is one of the best interviewers who's ever walked the face of this planet. And I remember her talking about how she, funny enough, I was interviewing her, right, for Black Enterprise, right? And I was interviewing her, and I asked her this one question. She started crying, right? As an interviewer, when you see somebody crying, you've asked a question, you feel like, wow, you really hit on something. There's something really good there. And then I followed up with another question, and she said, gosh, I wish you would have told me that before. I would have been prepared. Like it totally broke the mood, right? So I destroyed it with a bad question. But to her point is, she wanted to be prepared. Some people want to be prepared. Some people don't. I tell everybody who interviews me, I say, don't even tell me what the questions are. I don't like to see questions ahead of time. But here's what you should do. You should at least create the scope of what you plan to cover in the interview. And you should send that scope to your guests. And at minimum, you should let your guests know how you plan to open and close. That's very important for a lot of people because a lot of your guests are going to be nervous. And if they could answer that one question out the gate in a strong way, then everything else becomes easier for them, right? And if they can close on a strong note, right? Because a lot of you will know who's been interviewed. If you've asked a couple questions that are just that you didn't really answer it, you want to end on a high note. And so if you already know what that last question is going to be, you know you could hammer it home and end on a high note. So the best thing that you could do for your guests is to say, okay, guest, and this is what I do with all my guests with Better with Paul. I say, here's the scope. I plan to, cover these themes, A, B, and C. Here's the opening question I'm going to give you. So you know exactly what it's going to be. So you're not fooled. And here's how I like to close, right? With the call to action. But here's how I like to close. That way you're prepared. They know the scope, opening, close. All right. Scope, opening, close. So that's respectful for them. The last thing that I want to say, this is getting into like pro tip advice. Pro tip advice is this is where you have to know how emotionally, or you have to know how good you are at building rapport. Now, this is what I mean. When I was hosting Our World for Black Enterprise, I was kind of new to that level of interview. That was a big level of interview. I mean, I was interviewing the biggest names, right? And so my director, Jen, who I love Jen. Jen was trying to help me. And she said, Paul, here's what I'll do is before you come in to interview these guests, especially like with Black Enterprise, there would be a massive event. It's like 10,000 people in an audience. And I come on stage with like Jermaine Dupri, and I'd have to interview him live on stage. And it's in front of everybody and it's being filmed. It's a lot of pressure for a host. So what Jen would say is she would say, all right, Paul, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you have lunch with the guests. So that way you could sit for an hour with them and talk and build a rapport with them. So then when you come on stage, it'll be easy, right? So she used to let me do these things. I did it with Steve Harvey. I did it with Michael Lee Chin from Billionaire out of Jamaica. I did it with Jermaine Dupri. It was just me and them. They set us up with this little thing, and I just ate with them for like an hour just talking. Here's what I realized. The worst interviews I have ever conducted have been those interviews where I spent an hour talking to them. Honestly, the Jermaine Dupri interview, if you go back, like that one almost got me fired, by the way, the Jermaine Dupri interview, because I asked him a question about Janet Jackson that everybody was like, don't. My boss was like, no, don't do it. Right. But I had to ask him about Janet. Like, if you have Jermaine Dupri, you got to ask him about Janet. But anyway, I had spent so much time building a rapport with them and already asking them questions. So therefore, when we got on stage, it wasn't novel, right? So I had to figure out, how do I come in between, right? Because I need to know a little bit, but here's the point. The point is that I now realized that I figured out how to become better at building a rapport. You have to gauge that yourself. You have to look at the guest, how familiar they are with how familiar they are with interviews. And then you have to ask yourself, how good are you, A, do you have a relationship with them? And then B, if you don't, how good are you with building a rapport? Then once I got good with it, I was able to quickly build rapports. So for example, I'll never forget when I interviewed 50 Cent. All right. I interviewed 50 when this was like season, I forgot what season it was of Power, maybe season 2 or season 3 of Power. Right. And 50 he's kind of intimidating because you don't know what he's going to say. You don't know what he's going to do. Right. You just don't know. And so I remember gaming it in my mind. And I said, you know what I want to do? Let me just come in 10 minutes before my interview with 50. Let me just get 10 minutes where it's just me and him talking, right? What I like about those short interactions is most people try to be kind out the gate, right? And most people are just dicks, right? Are people who typically don't show that right away, right? They kind of they become that later, you know. So if you get a short interaction with someone, you are on a high note with them, and then 10 minutes in on that high note, then all of a sudden, boom, you get the interview. I will say, I mean, you know, you get them on that high note. Once I got that kind of 10-minute zone, that's when I really that's when I felt like I was in my zone. So even for Better with Paul, what I do is I bring on the guests 15 minutes before, right? So 15 minutes in this queue, I bring them on, we chop it up real quick. I let them chop it up with the other people. It's just real quick interactions, build a little bit of a rapport, and then we can go do it, right? So for everybody's different. All right, let me keep going. Let me keep going, guys. I could spend forever on this. Okay. Be the ultimate guide for your audience, not simply a fan. All right. This is where I just want to spend a second on this, because what you see a lot of people do are not interviews. They're not interviews, right? What a lot of people are doing is they're just chatting with friends. They're just bringing people on and they're just chatting. If you want to genuinely approach this, you have to position yourself as a guide for your avatar. Now, let me pull this off the screen real quick, because I want to say this. This is one of the most important. This is so important. Hold on for a second. My lips, man, my lips are feeling, by the way, this is, my wife got this for me. This is a Clinique lip restoration. Oh yeah. Yeah. I had to stop for a quick break right there. All right. This is how serious it is. I had to lubricate my lips for this. Okay. This is how serious this is. So, what am I even talking about? I don't even know what I'm talking about. No. All right. So one of the most critical things you can remember is when you're creating content, your avatar has a problem, right? And your avatar doesn't want that problem to increase and become disastrous. Like everyone has problems. We talked about this already, but they have a problem, right? So you have your avatar who has a pain point. That pain point is their problem. What most people try to do when they're creating content is they try to be the hero. They're like, oh, let me come in and save you. Let me, I'm going to come in. I've got all the answers for you, right? That's how a lot of people present their content. By the way, I saw Terry Carell in here. Let me say this. This is something that I really appreciate about Terry. And this is what masterful, I think, storytellers and people who create content in terms of interviews is they say, no, you know what? I'm actually not your hero. Instead, I'm your guide. I am going to help to guide you. It's going to be me and you. We fight the same enemy, and I'm going to guide you through, right? This is the concept. You always want to look at yourself as you don't need to have all the answers. Your avatar doesn't want you to have all the answers. Your avatar wants you to guide them. They're looking for a guide, right? So now, going back to this, be the ultimate guide for them, not simply a fan. So when you have somebody come on and you're interviewing them, you know that you are representing the avatar. You've got to hold with the avatar. So for example, and this means in essence, what I'm saying is that you're there to pull information out of that guest on the behalf of your avatar. So for example, like when Dawn Richardson came on last, and she was talking about how, basically someone stole $30,000. And I was like, man, how are you feeling? Did you want to go in there and knock some heads around? Like I would have knocked some heads around, that kind of thing. I've never heard anyone ask her that question. But the reason why I wanted to ask that question is because I know my avatar, you would be thinking, oh my God, what can I do? Some of you were thinking, man, I would have gone there, right? And so I wanted to ask that question to represent my avatar, right? So my whole point is that you are a guide, right? You are a guide. you were a guy, and that's what. Oh yeah, there she is. Yeah, and I see that she does it. She does it exceptionally well, exceptionally well. All right, next up. Oh, this is one that I have a problem with, guys. This is one that I have a problem with. You know me. You know I have a problem with this, but I do this very well in one-on-one interviews. All right, this has been my thing. When I was working at Black Enterprise, my nickname was Onion. And it wasn't because of what you think, right? The nickname came because I would make a lot of people cry, right? I would because of the questions. And let me tell you, the secret to evoking emotion and getting emotion out of a guest is you give them space. You give them space. That's all you have to do is give them space. What a lot of interviewers do, bad interviewers, is they'll pose a question and they'll get a little uncomfortable and then they'll try to fill the space. Instead, you give them space and then the guest will give you gold. Point in example. When I was interviewing, when I was interviewing Jermaine Dupri, all right? Now, when I was interviewing Jermaine Dupri, literally, the folks at Black Enterprise said, Paul, don't ask him anything about Janet Jackson. He's sensitive about that topic. Don't go there, right? So what did I do? I went there. So I waited until midway through the interview, right? Because you want to give you want your interview. Your interview is like this dance, right? That goes up and then it starts to level off. So, I do agree with the whole premise of softball questions initially, right? That way, your guest gets their footing. But you want to make sure that if you're not asking questions where your guest looks up and ponders for a second, you're not asking hard enough questions. You're not asking the right questions. And when you ask the hard-hitting question, all you do is this, all right? So Jermaine Dupri's on stage. We've already been going back and forth for like 15 minutes. It's a good rapport. He's laughing, which he doesn't laugh much, right? So he's laughing. The audience is laughing, everything, right? So I lean in because remember, the pan in is important. The pan in. I said, so Jermaine, how do you believe Janet Jackson impacted your career? Now, you see how I paused like that? It felt a little uncomfortable. Tell me if that pause felt a little uncomfortable, right? But that's what you got to do, because I guarantee you, when you pause, someone will fill the space, and it will be your guest. And your guest will fill the space with something emotional. It almost always happens 100% of the time. You ask that bomb question, and then you give them space. But here's the thing. Also, your body language is important. When you ask that question, you should lean in. You're inquisitive. You want to know. But you're also showing your guest, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. It's up to you to respond to this. I'm not going to bail you out. I'm not going to talk you out of this one. You do it. Jermaine, how did Janet Jackson impact your career? And then he gave an epic answer that will go down in Black Enterprise history. Okay. All right. So now that is it. All right. That is it. Silence is it. So then you have compensate your guests for their time. Now, this is what I mean by compensating your guests for their time. All right. Here's one thing that you guys can't even see the slides. I'm still on my Jermaine Dupri situation. All right. So this is number 9. All right, this is number 9. All right, there you go. My sis said she felt that pause. There you go. Brandon said, what was the answer? Put it like this. I want you guys to Google it. The answer was so good that Jen, who's my director off stage, she was like, no. She was like, wrap up the interview. It was great. It was good. It literally, I heard I was almost fired that day for asking the questions. But once again, that's the integrity. You got to bring that integrity. You got to bring that integrity. You're the guide for your avatar. All right. So now this is what I say, compensate your guests for their time. This is really important. Your guests, in most cases, are giving up more than the amount of time that it takes for you to interview you, for you to interview them. I mean, think about Better with Paul. I mean, my God, some of our guests have been on for 2 hours. The amount that they could charge for 2 hours is thousands of dollars. You owe it to your guest. You owe it to your guests. We're all professionals here. You owe it to your guests to compensate them. Now, I'm not saying to pay them, but by the way, that happens a lot in TV. It happens a lot in TV, right? But I'm not telling you to pay them. But what I am saying is that you have to figure out how you can compensate them for their time. Now, here are the things that I like to do, right? A couple things is, one is I always figure out how I can make it as easy as possible for the guest. That's key, right? You don't want them to feel like they have to prep a lot. They have to spend a lot of time doing stuff. Also, please stop doing this, y'all. Please stop inviting people onto your podcast and then expecting them to promote your podcast. Please. Let me say that again. Hold on. Let me zoom in on that. Please stop inviting people onto your podcast and expecting them to promote your podcast. You can't have them do. I mean, think about this. Some of y'all are out here, right, saying, all right, come on to my podcast. Oh, by the way, promote my podcast. And then when you come, I want you to be phenomenal and all these things. No. That's not how it works. You make it as easy as possible for them, and you don't give the expectation of them doing it. I send an email to all my guests and I say, here is the social card I am using to promote the show. I never say, please promote this, please share this, please email this, please. No. You don't want to make it a burden for them. You leave it up to them, right? The next thing that I do is I always give space. You guys know this. I always give space in the show to say, how can we support you? And I make sure that is a methodical moment, right? So in advance, I've already asked the person, what is their call to action, right? Because it's always better to drive your audience to one call to action opposed to 2 or 3. We'll talk about that in the guest segment in terms of how to become a better guest. But the key is, I know that if I have one call to action, the audience is more likely to support, right? So that's another part of it. The other part of compensation is knowing how the platform or the interview can actually help the guest. This is where timing is very important. So, for example, a lot of people will go on a book tour on podcast. So, if someone's book comes out and they're on a book tour and you invite them on, they're trying to sell books. It's a good win for them, right? So you always want to look for those key, like, for me, I'm always thinking, okay, does someone have a product or a service that they might be launching? Does someone have, an initiative or a project that they want to promote? You must be very methodical with the compensation, because I tell you this, the worst thing for you is to bring somebody on as a guest, have them give you their all, and have them not feel as if their value was respected. You know what I mean? That is the worst thing that you could do. So that it's very, very important, very, very important to do that. All right. Last up, number 10 is this. Number 10 is always follow up. I'm messing up again, guys. Always follow up with a thank you for X to your guests. Always. This is part of the value that you give them. This is what I've noticed. Every time I'm on a show, right? First off, I would say this. On every maybe 10 shows or interviews that I go on, I will probably get only 5. So 50% will come back and say, Paul, thank you. Only 50% will say thank you. Now, only about 10% or less will say, Paul, thank you for helping to show my audience A, B, C. This is part of value. Why? goes back to what Oprah would always talk about, right? Oprah would always say that the commonality among everyone who's ever interviewed her, anyone who she's ever interviewed, kings, queens, popes, etc., has always been, how did I do? Right? Everyone wants to go to Oprah. How did I do? But what we're looking for is affirmation. But the value that you could give somebody who's looking for affirmation is not only to affirm that they were present, but to specifically affirm what you got from them being present, right? So for example, if I'm on an interview and someone turns around and actually, I'll give you an example, right? When on this last session that we did, Carla Friday was one of the folks. I messaged Carla and I was like, Carla, by the way, I like to leave audio messages for my thanks. I think audio messages are personal. I said, Carla, thank you. In particular, thank you for your heartfelt message. I believe that when you were talking about having to pivot and you were really showing the emotion of not having, any money and being, financially strapped, that heartfelt message really connected with the audience. It was emotive. Her knowing, me telling Carla that, I think was value add to her, because it not only affirmed her presence, but affirmed her exact action. And that helps her, because so now she knows, wow, like that's a skill that I have. That's a superpower. Maybe I should do that more in interviews. Maybe that's something that I should show up more. I should be more present. That helps her. It's very important for you to specifically outline what you were thanking everyone for. All right. Let's do this, guys. I've been on for an hour and a half and I'm only halfway through the presentation. So here's what we're going to do. That's it for today's presentation. I'm not going to go into the guests. Just so you know, this is crazy. I have now the top 10 tips to become a great guest. Here's what I want to do. I want to take 3 quick questions. I'm going to take 3 quick questions here. And then what I'll do is I'll come back and I'll do a whole nother session on another Mentor Monday on how to be a guest, right? How to really become the best guest. Let's just walk through these real quick, just so you could see it one last time. Enter your questions in, okay? Enter your questions in, and let me go back here. Enter your questions in right now, and I'm going to do my best to. I'm going to pick up 3 of them real quick, but let's just do a quick overview. All right. So how to be great. Once again, top 10 tips to become a great host. Remember, not everyone should do it. Here are the questions that you should ask. Okay. By the way, remember, just make sure that you're on this list here, and you'll get this slide deck. Okay. Equipment is nice, but not critical. Remember, it's all about sound. It's the most important. Remember about the production quality. You want to be familiar with all of the aspects of the production quality that will help you. We talk about the pan in, panning out. Show topic is critical. This is I think the biggest kind of insider tip. There is time-sensitive content. There's evergreen content. But if you could identify evergreen content that appears as time-sensitive, you're going to be much better. Curate the right guess, topic in time, right? Here are the considerations to identifying that right guess. Remember, you're like your choir conductor. Remember, you have to prepare. It's basically twice the amount of preparation to the amount of time of the interview. Be the ultimate guide. You're not the hero. You ride with your avatar. You are their guide. Silence. Just remember Jermaine Dupri. That's all you have to remember right here. Janet Jackson, Jermaine Dupri. And then compensate your guests. Remember, it's not about the dollars, but it's about how can you make sure that they feel as if their time was a value add, right? That their time allocation to you, that you felt like it was a value add. So you were showing them that value. And then make sure you follow up specifically to let people know specifically how you appreciate their presence. All right, questions, guys. I want to make sure that I get some questions in here. Remember, we got Facebook, we got everybody here. Let me just go right here. My man Roberto, Facebook says, Paul, How do you deal with the demands, egos, and expectations from your guests? Also, is a guest ever too big or important for you? Oh man, Roberto, this is such a great question. Now, yeah, I've dealt with some egos, right? I wish I could name drop. By the way, in Jamaica, after I get a couple, red stripes, I'll probably start dropping, the actual names that I thought were man, let me tell you this. One of the Real Housewives. Let me just say this real quick. I've never seen more ego than one of the Real Housewives. I remember interviewing one of these Real Housewives, and I think she came with 13 people. 13 people, like multiple hair, multiple makeup, multiple, I mean, it was like, we got to shoot at this angle. We got to do this. It was obscene. Here's what you can't forget though. Roberto, you can't forget that you are a guide for the avatar. I never forgot that. So I was able to deal with it. It wasn't about me. I knew that she had information that the avatar of the show needed. And it was my duty to extract that, right? That's really what I feel like. It's my duty to extract that. So really it's about humbling yourself. Now, what I would suggest, if you can, the easiest way to get around this is pull on a producer. A producer, by the way, doesn't have to be doing the production. The producer could just deal with the booking. Booking is one of the hardest things in creating a show or creating a podcast is booking. I mean, thank God I have rapport. I've been around kind of in the industry for 10 years, so I can just message somebody and they hit me back and like, hey, Paul, yeah, I'll do it. But a lot of folks, and by the way, I can't do that with everybody. So booking takes a lot. I would strongly, if I were to, the first person I would ever bring on to a team would be someone to handle the booking, and therefore they can handle the talent. They can handle all of that. That keeps you separated. The other reason why you want to be separated is if someone comes into your interview already with an ego, they will find reasons to not like you. And the worst thing that you want to do is get in a situation where you're interviewing someone who's just combative, right? And is just trying to piss you off. So the best way to create that space and you be presented as the good cop is have somebody come in and handle that for you. All right. I hope that answered that for you. All right. So let me keep going. Oh man, we got a million questions. Oh my gosh, guys. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm trying to get okay. Questions. Okay. Here's Tony. I think, how do you decline an invite to a show without damaging relationship? Great question, Tony. This is, I'll tell you exactly what I do. Right. One is, I think it's very important for people. Tony, you're one of these folks, right? Is that when you have a heart, right? When you have a heart, I say Tony's one of these folks. The rest of y'all don't have no hearts, all right? But Tony, I know Tony, you have a heart. No, but it's very important, right? When you have a heart, that you know that if you are turning someone down, that you're going to feel bad about that. But here's what you should know, is that if that person respects you for who you are, the relationship won't be damaged as long as you are truthful with them. What I have done is I've said to myself, and actually there could be several people watching this who got this message from me, where I'm no longer doing interviews for the next almost 2 months. So now until August 15th actually is my date, because I'm focused now. And now that the book is out, y'all, now my focus is on knowledge share, right? Website coming very soon. So I message everybody back and I say, thank you so much. I'm honored. Anybody who messages me, right? I had an 18-year-old message me who has a show, is like, Paul, I've got 30 people who watch it. I was like, still, it's an honor that you invited me. I will do your show, but the earliest I can start taking bookings is August 15th. And then on August 15th, they will be, I'll take them on a first come, first serve basis. I think it's very important for you to be intellectually honest with them. The other thing that you could say is you could say, and I think this is very fair for a lot of you all, is you could say, I'm in the startup stage of my business. I have limited time that I can allocate. I want to allocate my time on shows that I know the exact avatar that is purchasing my product or my service is watching it, or is watching, right? So it looks like your avatar is different. If it is, then I can't do it. But if it is, correct me if I'm wrong, right? That's being intellectually honest. I think the key is being transparent and honest with whoever it is that is making the request. All right. All right. Let me get another one in, guys. I'm sorry. I think there were a lot of questions that went by earlier. Let me go back. Okay, here's Brandon. What should be the frequency of your show? I assume only as often as you can. Yep, you answered it. Only as Brandon. Hold on, Brandon. I got a slide for you, Brandon. Brandon said he assumes it's only. Brandon, I got a slide for you, Brandon. You ready? You ready, Brandon? That's it, B. That's it. That's it. All right. Let's go here. Let's see what else. Let's see what else. Does anyone know? Middle school private tutor in Atlanta. Yeah. Okay. How do you decline? Oh shoot! Does anybody have? Let me try to get. What is one thing you could do now to use this knowledge? Okay. All right. I like this. What is one thing you can do now to use this knowledge? I really like this question. This is a great one. I think the first thing that everyone should know is all of us are media companies. Point blank, period. No matter if you work for someone, you were furloughed, you were laid off, you're an entrepreneur, whatever it may be, you are a media company. A. B, if you're a media company, that means you have to create content. The first thing that you all should do with this knowledge is now know, okay, this is the standard if I'm going to create a show, right? So the standard is high. So you have to ask yourself, what is the best lane for me in terms of my content distribution? Is it a show? Is it going to be a video show? Is it going to be an audio show? Maybe it's not going to be a show. Maybe I'm going to write blog content, static blog content. Maybe I'm just going to write a series of ebooks. Like you have to pick your lane. But this is the most fundamental thing we can all take away today, I think, is you have to pick a lane. If you don't pick a lane, your brand will die. If you do not pick a content lane, your brand will die. So that is my answer. All right, guys. These were great questions. These were great questions. Let me tell this. Somebody tell my man what this means. Somebody tell him what this means. Somebody tell him what it means quick. Now here you go. This is it. This is it right here. TUC, targeted, unmissable content. Check out. I did a whole session. I think it's the session on content strategy. We went deep. Y'all, you remember how deep we went. Okay. So now that's it for you got. Yeah, there you go. Pick a lane. All right, there you go. So now that's it, guys. That's it. I want to thank you all for today. I am going to come back and I'm going to do the second series on how to be a guest. I'm going to come back and do that perhaps next Monday. In closing, a couple quick things is for you all that just came, remember, special announcement on Jamaica. We're all going to Jamaica 2021 for the most incredible retreat you have ever seen. Get on this wait list. And when I say wait list it's literally just a list so that once we have the details, which we will have the details this year, so that way you'll have a whole year to plan. Once we have the details, we can send it to you, because one thing I will tell you for sure is it's going to sell out. Like we'll have a certain number of rooms in the hotel, and yeah, we'll have overflow hotels and all that, but you want to be in the action, right? And so this will be the first list that we go to say, hey, here's what's happening. So make sure that you're down for that. The second thing is, remember, guys, the book. This was my big, this was my baby, and this is as a result of you. This is in thanks to all of you. So this is the ebook. I want to make sure that you know that you have to be on the mail list to get it. And the beauty of being on this list is I'm going to send you the book. Okay. So you'll get the book for free. And then you'll keep getting these recaps of all of these episodes. And I'm going to send you the book today. All right. So, and the book is really a thank you because this is my level 4 content, right? What we talked about. So I want to make sure that you guys know about that. And the last thing is, if everybody can share, we've been getting massive viewership on these, and it's really thanks to you all sharing. So please, on all the platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook in particular, Twitter, please make sure that you share out. Our tribe just grows, and everything just gets better. That is it, guys. I want to say thank you very much. I love you all. I wish we could sit here and I feel like this was a short session, but this was an hour and 40 minutes, but I feel like it was a short session. But you guys have a phenomenal week. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And my last question, actually, I always ask the last, but let me just say this. You guys have a great week. You have a great week. That's all I want, is you have a great week. I'm going to let a little bit of networking happen if you want to do that for 2 minutes as I close out. But other than that, have a great week. I'll see you on Friday. Take care.